Talia had returned safely from the Council of Little Snots. And she was not alone, but also had Gorgu in tow, a being that would soon become the new absolute evil. In his honor, the Little Snots had already built him his own room.
A room with 3 entrances seems a lot like a death trap to me. You don't do it yourself. But okay, enough of that. Babysitting this thing is really not my, thing. And anyway, it's cliché as hell that the main female character here is supposed to take care of a baby. What's next? Cooking someone dinner?
Well,
you're not serious, are you?
In order for Gorgu to get stronger, he needed to be fed. But it was not overpriced food in jars he craved, but something with more substance. Heroes. Living heroes. As luck would have it, a few of the resident dwarves had just apprehended some thieves. Presumably, Gorgu would find them just as tasty as normal heroes if the jailbreak planning evil were to get his hands on them.
Okay, I can kind of get on board with that after all. Okay, catch heroes and feed them to Gorgu. Coming right up.
As if on cue, Tristan chose that very moment to appear on the scene.
Talia, why are you here? Have you still not renounced evil? I have other matters to attend to. Men, seize them! Forward, men! Fight this abomination! The alliance of good shall not fail! Well, not again!
Heroes prepared to push towards the dungeon and would inevitably encounter Gorgu. Apparently, Talia had to ensure not only his empowerment, but also his safety.
Oh, this babysitting is already getting on my nerves, and I don't even get paid for it. But okay, at least the heroes come straight here to get their asses kicked. Go ahead, whack 'em on the beans, smash their gourds, put radishes in their eyes.
In order to catch living heroes for Gorgu, a prison would need to be built. Immediately, Talia and the incarcerating evil set out to build such a room.
Prison? Sounds like a sensible thing to do. Bet it's fun to watch some sorrowful characters languishing away there.
A few manivores have appeared in your dungeon. The planless evil scouts had discovered some undead that Tristan had captured. These necromancers and vampire queens would be a most welcome addition.
Exactly! More cannon fodder for the front. I mean, strong support for our army. Go on, free them. Get them out of there. Send them draft notices.
dong! It's payday! A gold vein is almost exhausted.
The time has come! Now it is up to us to bring the realms of good to blossom once again. There in the underground, my evil stepsister has allied herself with the deviant creatures of chaos. The absolute evil's last stand. Forward, men! Destroy this abomination once and for all!
Tristan seemed to know how to motivate his men. They rushed towards the dungeon with a battle-hardened fervor.
All right, creatures, we'll show my brother. Tear them to pieces, beat them to a pulp, and, don't hurt them too much, because we need them alive for Gorgu.
A gold vein has been mined out.
payday. Enemies have entered the dungeon.
The newly built prison gleamed and sparkled, or normally would have, but the little snods had just cobbled it together out of old materials. Still, it would serve its purpose and keep living heroes captive. These could then be fed to Gorgus using the Hand of Terror. The ingenious evil surely knew that it was only a matter of time before heroes would descend upon Gorgu. Wisely, it cranked up workshop production in order to be able to set traps.
Sure, naturally I knew that. By all means, onward, little snots! Work faster!
Talia and the merciless evil had repelled the first wave of attack, but the heroes would not stand idly by and would soon move in again.
I sure hope so, because we're going to have to feed a lot more of them to Gorgu. Come on, bring it on, like lambs to the slaughter.
A pathetic hero languished in prison. The horrible evil could feed him to Gorgu. A vampire queen joined the undead evil. Her healing powers were captivating. Wonderful. Evil had freed some vampire queens who willingly joined its army. Since they neither glittered nor had any interest in romantic comedies, they were most welcome in the truly evil's army. The vampire queen not only dealt damage to enemies in the area, but also distributed the life energy collected from enemies to undead creatures nearby. Payday. Once again, many heroes gathered to attack the dungeon.
Enemies have entered the dungeon.
The baby feeding evil had thrown Gorgu his first hero. The young little snot gleefully set about soaking up its soul energy.
Oh, the little one is so cute. Now a little bath and then let us rain death and destruction upon the humans.
Tanya's certainty of victory seemed somewhat premature, for Gorgu's hunger was far from satisfied. It would take many more heroes before he would reach his full strength. Enemies are in the dungeon. Another hero attack broke uselessly on the defensive evil's dungeon. Payday! The destruction of the hero camp suddenly opened up a dungeon gate very close by. The necromantic evil welcomed a necromancer into its ranks. These undead mages could rain powerful magic upon their enemies once it was researched. A hero died in prison. The forgetful evil had left him there instead of feeding him to Gorgu, most regrettably. The zombie-like evil had freed all the captured undead, making his army even more powerful. This deserved a fanfare, but since the budget for sound effects has already been used up, I will have to do the honors instead. Doo-doo! The resurrected evil's undead creatures had previously seen a video called Thriller, or something like that, and had been in dance fever ever since. Higher level undead demanded a necrodancian where they could indulge their latest obsession. A hero disappeared into Gorgu's chambers. A pathetic hero languished in prison. The horrible evil could feed him to Gorgu. Several heroes had gathered together and were making their way to the dungeon. The necrodancian had been built. Undead flocked by to swing their bony hips there. Those undead, who no longer had hip bones, just stood on the sidelines, swaying back and forth in time to the music. Payday! Your enemies are in the dungeon. Your gold vein is nearly exhausted. Your little snots have completely mined out a gold vein. Something truly unnatural made its way up from the depths of Gorgu's cute little body. A sound that made the do-gooders freeze in shock.
Don't forget the fetid smell at the end. That's really nasty. But hey, if it knocks some heroes out for a bit, forward, creatures! Get them, beat them up, and don't forget to hold your noses.
The dwarf destroying evil had defeated the dwarven jailers and thus gained access to their secret prison. Gorgu seemed reasonably satisfied. Talia and the lamb gravy-seeking evil have probably satisfied the little one over 1/5 of his hunger. The first step had been taken.
That was ridiculously easy. Open wide, Gorgu. Here comes the next hero.
A hero had been tossed into Gorgu's chambers. A hero disappeared into Gorgu's chambers. day, creatures are collecting their pay. A dungeon gate leading to the underground opened up in front of the delighted evil's army. A hero died in prison. The forgetful evil had left him there instead of feeding him to Gorgu. Most regrettable. A hero had been tossed into Gorgu's chambers. Once again, many heroes gathered to attack the dungeon. The jailbreak preparing evil had eliminated a prison's dwarven guards. The prisoners now belonged to it alone. Gorgu's stomach was already almost half full. The budding celebrity chef evil seemed very pleased with itself. Surprising, seeing as all these heroes were served raw.
Hey, what about me? I'm very satisfied myself. Maybe we'll stuff an apple in the next one's mouth.
Your enemies are in the dungeon. A gold vein has been mined out. A pathetic hero languished in prison. The horrible evil could feed him to Gorgu. enemies have entered the dungeon. Payday. Gorgu slowly developed a little paunch, but the Guard of Only Heroes obviously seemed to agree with him. At least he was accumulating lots of soul energy.
Ugh. That last hero had munched enough garlic to take out all the vampires in all of the kingdoms. But whatever. Keep it up, Gorgu. Soon you'll be a great and powerful dungeon lord, and you'll finally be able to do something useful.
Talia and the murderous evil had repelled an attack by the heroes with no great effort. The absolute evil had tossed a hero into Gorgu's chambers. A hero disappeared into Gorgu's chambers. A golden portal suddenly opened in the dungeon. If Talia and the overrun evil failed to destroy it, heroes would inevitably use it to enter the dungeon.
What? But all my lovingly placed traps and defense plans. I even drew them in using colored pencils. Whatever. Go on, creatures. Destroy those magical portals. Just hammer on them with your weapons. That'll destroy them. That's how it always worked before.
On the other hand, it still needed heroes to feed Gorgu, so maybe those portals weren't all bad for Talia after all. A gold vein has been mined out. Gorgu was almost completely sated. He didn't need much more to reach his full potential.
All right, let's move on to the desserts. There's hot raspberry hero, hero brulee, and oh, what the hell, there's just more normal heroes from the dungeon. Go on, keep on munching. It's your patriotic contribution to the evil empire.
The absolute evil had tossed a hero into Gorgu's chambers.
Enemies have entered the dungeon.
A hero disappeared into Gorgu's chambers. and the perfidious evil had easily repelled another attack by the heroes. A hero had been cast into Gorgu's chambers. Payday. Once another portal opened in the dungeon. Your enemies are in the dungeon. A pathetic hero languished in prison. The horrible evil could feed him to Gorgu. The feeding evil had done it. Gorgu was...
Come on, men! Get yourselves together and finally put an end to that thing!
Gorgu let out a deafening, satisfied belch that sent the remaining heroes fleeing.
Getting the absolute evil back on its feet was a lot easier than I thought. As I see it, the campaign won't be needing the promised 20 levels, but can actually end after the next map. Wonderful. Then I can treat myself to a nice, relaxing bath in unicorn blood.
Tanya seemed very certain of victory, perhaps too certain of victory. It was negligent to believe that this story would already come to an end after such a brief intermezzo.